How many times in your life have you watched a video or someone in your personal, professional life has told you that video games are a waste of time? I think it's something that gets said to you, but it's also something internal often as well. I think we've all had times in our life, whether you're going through school, you're a young adult, making your way in the world, or you're an old boomer like myself, you're approaching 30, you're meant to be doing all adult things, and you do question occasionally, am I wasting my time playing video games? For me, it's a question I've asked at various stages of my life. I can comfortably say that I don't think so. I enjoy them, I find value in them, but I think it does also depend. Over the years, I've played different sorts of games. I've played a lot of single-player titles, great games in different genres, whether they're RPGs, point-and-click adventures. I've played a lot of action-adventure games, horror games. I could keep going. This could go for 10 minutes. So I'll just about try any genre. And if I enjoy it, I'll keep exploring titles that are similar. But despite really enjoying games and knowing that I do, I have asked myself the question over the years, are you addicted? If you stopped playing them and you did other things, would you enjoy those more? And gaming's just a habit. It's something that I wrestle with at various times in my life. Now, some of that may be internal. It's also come from external people as well. I think it's often people who don't quite understand the gaming medium, where they still think it's purely just shooting random objects, Return to Castle Wolfenstein, pixels on the screen, and there's nothing more to it. That experience of incredible gameplay, story, music, how art sort of comes together. A lot of people don't get that, so they just see it as something really, really simple, black and white. It's dumb, it's stupid. But I think there are also people who have been addicted to gaming themselves, and they like to go out and suggest that that's a problem everyone has, and if you're playing gaming, you're wasting your time because they did and they stopped and now things are good for them. I don't think that's ever the case. I think no matter what you're doing, any activity, doesn't matter what it is, it has the potential to be addicting, and it has the potential to be something healthy that adds value to your life. Obviously not everything, but I think most things that don't necessarily always have a correlation with addiction. So hobbies like games or sports or whatever it may be, even things like the gym, which would historically be seen as healthy. If you are someone who has asked yourself that question, am I wasting my time with games? Should I be doing other things? I think you do have to ask yourself that question, what do I get out of it and what do I enjoy? For me, it is exploring the content and enjoying these experiences. I don't think you can get the same experience out of games that you might get out of movies or you might get out of TV shows, music by itself. I think gaming has something that is incredibly unique, and I never want to lose it. That's why I will always play games. I can say for myself, though, I consume and have consumed two types of games over the years. Those single-player experiences, which, when high quality, are incredible and can't be matched. But I have also played what I see as being the other side of gaming, which is MMOs like World of Warcraft, online titles, whether it's the Fortnites, Call of Duties, whatever it might be. I've seen that as well. And I don't know about you, but the way I consume them are very, very different. I can play Baldur's Gate 3, Resident Evil for an hour or two at a time, and if I feel like I've had enough, I've got other things I need to do, I can just jump off. Even if the game's really, really gripping me, and I could sit there and keep going, I can just pull myself away, absolutely no problem. But for World of Warcraft, for instance, when I've played that over the years, I haven't been able to do that so well. That's when I probably have felt like, am I getting addicted? But separating those out, these single-player games and those multiplayer games that are designed to keep you on that hamster wheel, I think it's very, very important. And I think sometimes it's that difference between actually enjoying something for what it is versus feeling like you need to do it or you're going to miss out or you're going to fail or something like that. And with something like World of Warcraft, it's very easy, I think, to just keep going with it, even if you're sacrificing other areas of your life. Now, I mentioned earlier on, I've gone through periods of my life where I've wanted to quit gaming cold turkey, and I've done it. I've thought, I'm not playing games again, I'm going to do all these great productive things. But it ends up being, you're almost living for other people sometimes, where now you're trying to do activities that make other people happy, that people have said is socially acceptable, and you think, that's not really you. And the problem is that some people may do that and have great success with it, and it works for them, and they realise, well, maybe I was just playing games for the sake of it. They weren't something that I really enjoyed. And I brought up those multiplayer games because it always seems to be those people who are playing League of Legends non-stop, while they're playing World of Warcraft, Fortnite, and then they stop playing them, they go and do other activities, and they feel fulfilled. That's fine for them, but it's not everyone. Because as I said, there's people like myself who love those high-quality single-player experiences, and I see them almost as totally different activities. The single-player versus multiplayer, there's not a lot of similarities when you just break out the fact that, sure, they're a game that you buy, you interact with it, but the experience isn't really the same. Hopefully you can get what I'm saying there. So separating that out has been important to me. It doesn't mean I haven't played World of Warcraft many times. I enjoy the game to some extent. I enjoy exploring the areas, doing the quests, and going through it, leveling up. But I just know when I play World of Warcraft, time gets away from me. I stop being productive in areas of my life, and it is something I probably won't go back to. I say that now, but no one's perfect. Well, I'll probably end up back there someday. I mean, I've had times in my life where no joke, I've literally quit a job for the sole purpose of playing something like World of Warcraft and continuing on with it. And long term, I've realised that you unfortunately can't do that because it's going to stuff you up in other areas of life. So I have had both extremes, not playing games at all and then going absolutely all in. And any extreme like that is often a bad idea. And that's where over the years, rather than trying to just stop playing all games, I did focus on those single player titles and I got that enjoyment back. I play games for the enjoyment of the content. I don't feel like I'm on a hamster wheel. I'm playing because I like what I'm doing. I can stop playing at any time. This is purely a recreational activity. And over time, in sort of doing that, this has probably been since I've been maybe 18, 19 years old, so a long time now. Again, I'm approaching 30. Gaming like that has been extremely fulfilling for me. And other areas of my life, they're fine. I mean, I make these videos, but I work all the time. I come home, I might record something like that these days. It's a small amount of my time. I go to the gym, I do other social activities, and then I do play games as well. Balancing that, it is good. It feels good. I think when you play one game for long periods of time, you almost feel like you're forcing yourself sometimes. And sure, it is fun to do that often when something like really awesome comes out, whether it's a Baldur's Gate 3 or an Elden Ring or something. But when you enjoy it in moderation, I find you take it in a bit more as well. It doesn't have to be a massive rush to the finish line. I spoke about the line being blurred with games. And when you think about, say, those League of Legends types games, and then you think of something like Ubisoft titles, any of those generic open world titles, I see that as often where the line is being blurred, where the game design is all around chasing map markers, and I suppose just filling off checklists on a bar. That's where that dopamine hit style gameplay comes back, it resurfaces, where you often don't feel like you're enjoying the content. You feel like you want to tick things off, you want to get things done for the sake of it, and if you don't do it, it's almost OCD, you're going to be missing out. I see that sometimes, and it's often why I don't play a lot of open world games, because I start to think, I'm not really enjoying this. It's where I feel like, if I'm going to play this, I really need to put something on the second monitor. This isn't, I suppose, very fulfilling. It's not stimulating. And when I feel like that, that's often when I want to move on to something else. So I often need to stop myself if I'm playing a game where it's obvious I'm not really enjoying it. I'm just playing it for the sake of it. And I do think some people might get a bit like that. Achievements, for instance, often have that effect on people where they're chasing achievements more than actually just enjoying the video game, the purpose you would think behind playing. The worst example is someone getting a game because it's got easy achievement points. And I mean, if that works for them, it's fine. I'm not criticizing how people approach games, but I'm saying if you feel like this, where you feel like maybe am I wasting my time, that is something you might think about is, am I playing games for a reason that I feel is good for me, the enjoyment, or is it for something else like achievement points or completionism for the sake of completionism, dopamine hits, it makes me feel good in the very short term, but it's not really stimulating. That stuff I think plays a part. So the real point I have here is I wouldn't consider people who are addicted to League of Legends or MMOs or whatever it might be, Fortnite, I wouldn't consider people who feel like that to be anywhere the same as people playing single-player games. They are very different activities to some degree. I mentioned the line being blurred, but I think for the most part, it's not really the same at all. So I don't think you should feel guilty for enjoying video games. It's a hobby. There's some people who might take it too far, like anything, but gaming's got a nice way about it, the single-player communities. People can come together to discuss, to talk about it. There's communities creating in there. Art is being made through mods and other mediums, like just simply drawing and discussing these games, talking about lore and story and predictions for what is to come. So I think there's plenty to like there. I don't see it as being very different to most hobbies. There's that skill element that people bring up, where it's like if you're playing a game, it's not really a skill, so therefore you're not learning and getting better. But if you're being honest, if you get skilled up in a hobby, for instance, or you learn a language or you do something, I think it's still important to ask yourself, are you doing that for you, or are you doing it because you want to impress other people and it makes you feel better being able to say, I'm doing this and I'm doing that and it's increasing my value. If it's working for you, that's fine. But if you say learn a language purely because people online or in your personal life have told you you've got to do something productive, I don't think that's got to last. I see absolutely no problem with having things that you enjoy just because you enjoy them. You're going to get older and you're probably going to have regrets if you don't spend time on things you actually want to do. If it's purely to impress others, you're probably going to have a bad time. So it's all personal, but this has worked for me. Approaching games in this way, focusing on actually enjoying them. Again, not perfect. There are going to be times where I jump back onto World of Warcraft or I play some sort of game where it is that dopamine hit. I have a guilty pleasure like an Assassin's Creed game or something. And I do sort of feel, maybe if I'm playing this, it brings me back to those times where I'm chasing the treadmill. It doesn't feel quite so healthy. But at the end of the day, do what works for you. I haven't made a video like this. It's a little bit different, I guess, but I've made a number of different videos. I made them 3-4 years ago for a while. For me, I get enjoyment out of these videos when I'm just putting on the camera, hitting record, and talking about something I'm interested in. I'm not a massive video editor. When I've tried to match maybe other people's videos where there's lots of different edits, it's a visual showcase, I get burnt out. I don't really enjoy it so much. So for me, it's just about talking about something that I like. Hopefully some people enjoy that too. When I consume YouTube, it's often just when it's on the second monitor or I'm at the gym or I go for a walk and I just want to listen to something. I don't really watch YouTube, which might sound stupid, but I don't think I'm the only one in that boat. So I'm going to keep making these videos as best as I can. They'll mostly be about games that I enjoy. I try to steer clear from the absolute mainstream topics. I think sometimes they're oversaturated. I try and make it a bit of a mix. Those AA games, maybe some indie games, where there's still some interest. They're not absolutely, there's only 50 people in the world who know about them. But areas, topics that aren't super well covered, and maybe they can provide some value to people just to kind of talk about them. Not necessarily a super in-depth news, factual deep dive, but just someone talking about them, giving my input, essentially. So if you got this far, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one, which will probably be a more regular orthodox video. Cheers. Bye.